Maybe?
Sorry, babe. This is so much more interesting.
Hi, garden lovers. Welcome to Over the Fence. I'm your host, Donna Dune. Today we're at a very special garden. It is so special that it has a book about it. This is written by Marietta and Ernie, the creators of the garden. And just look at how big this garden is. All around here. And so this obviously is not going to be all one video. I think we're going to do a series of 5 videos here. Marietta and Ernie can't be with us today because they are super awesome and they can and freeze and preserve most of their own food. And so it's harvest season and that's what they're busy doing. So what we're going to do is have a little tour and go around the garden and see what looks good. And it's actually, so they are on kind of a limited water supply, and so I mean it's hard to tell. Their garden still looks incredibly lush, but we can check it out. So come with me as we go over the fence. Hello, garden lovers. So as I mentioned before, when we filmed our garden tour of Marietta and Ernie's garden, they were busy canning. And so now here we are 5 months later. We have Marietta O'Byrne and Ernie O'Byrne. Am I saying that right?
O'Byrne.
O'Byrne.
Yeah. And Schnapps.
And Schnapps, yeah, the star of the garden. And so we've just been doing kind of a walkthrough of the video I took and talking about all the wonderful things we saw. So,
yeah, and now it's winter time and it's cold and wet.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So we'll actually start in the more forested area, which is on this side.
You go to a forest, try to imitate it, because obviously the forest knows best, right? The rotten logs, the rotten bits, people used to take everything out and then scrape, make it. Well, that's not how the shade garden grows naturally. And I would say through evolution, nature knows best, right?
Most erythemas are done by midsummer.
And you want the silver leaf. The silver leaf, you see the silver center, and it goes above all the ground covers and has this beautiful spider, a dancing spider, I call it.
Exactly, in the pulpit.
Effect.
In the spring when it comes up?
No, it doesn't come up in spring. When it comes up, end of June, early July. But then when the other erythemas are past their prime, it stays all summer, looks good all summer, all fall until frost.
Oh.
And it has the red fruit on. But they multiply underground, and they also set seed, these beautiful red fruits. And so you can have a whole group, but they don't really interfere with anything. They don't shade out anything. I mean, they're shade plants anyway, because when they come up, they're tall, about 2.5 feet, and then they have that leaf. So you can have all kinds of ferns, whatever, epimediums, whatever underneath. So they're very useful.
Palmarias.
Palmarias, you know. They don't disturb anything.
About
It's not a difficult
safe.
plant.
And it's good in drought too, in low water.
No, it's for woodland, like there.
Okay.
For watered or damp, where you grow ferns. And the very cold hardy, what are they, corns?
Yeah.
Bulbs are underground, and they come back year after year after year. So it's a very long-lived plant.
They're tubers.
They're called tubers.
They're tubers, yeah.
It may be that they're tubers. You have to look it up. There are these minute differences between corm, tuber, and bulb. But they're all dormant structures that hold the nutrition for the next years.
Another name is geophyte.
Geophyte.
Yeah. And that covers all of them.
Those are, well, for us, these are very easy. They receive the
pulmonaria?
pulmonarias. And what's nice about them is if you have several in the garden, like let's say 3 or 4, they have very pretty flowers in spring, blue flowers. And then if you let them reseed, the offspring, some have speckles, some are all silver. They're all variable. And you could dig out the ones you think are boring and keep the good ones.
Amazing.
And if you don't want them to set seed, you can just, after they're done flowering, you just cut all the flowers off. This is Jack Frost. The ones you can buy now are Jack Frost, and then there's the one that's all silver. There's a bit drought tolerant, but if you let them get too dry, they get a brown edge.
Oh, right.
So, and you want them in the shade. They're very pretty flowers, blue also.
In the spring.
Yeah, in the spring. And then the leaves last all summer. And they're even, well, it hasn't frozen. They're still out there now. The Fatsia, this one, this one has a particular name, closer. It has very pretty variegation.
I know, it's amazing.
But that is very drought tolerant. And you can grow that by the roots, like, see, there's a redwood. But at the roots of, like, conifers, people used to use them, just the boring green ones, at the edge right by the entrance if it was very shady. They can handle dark shade and very drought tolerant, can grow with root competition. So it's good for that. But the variegated are much nicer. And if it gets too tall, and because you want to see the top of the leaf, not just the underside, you can just whack it down and then it's more.
Perfect.
You know?
Yeah. And so that's another really interesting lesson that you guys have learned, because there's so many just large conifers in this area. And so are there other plants that do really well?
Yeah, you know, you learn after a while by Douglas firs, maples, all these trees that have shallow roots and make shade. You learn to put loads of compost on it.
Okay.
And just pile it on. This is pretty much all growing in compost because the roots are so aggressive. They suck all, not just the moisture, all the nutrition. And so you can only grow certain plants.
The oak leaf hydrangea was another one that you
It's
mentioned.
very drought tolerant too. Daphnes, fantastic, shade, and they like it dry. What's that honeysuckle called? The bush honeysuckle. Nitida. It's a bush, really, but I've never seen flowers on it, but it is called honeysuckle. Right by the roots, fantastic.
Awesome.
Take straw. Yews, like they have this beautiful bush yews with yellow new foliage. Very pretty, and you can prune them like you want, right by the roots. And ferns, of course. They don't need to have, I mean, they don't do dryland, but in the shade in drier places around trees, they do very well. I mean, there are some that wouldn't, but in general, especially the kind of crowned big ferns, do very well. And here's another item we imitated from the woods. They love rotten logs. So we used to go in the woods and get the rotten logs and dump them in the beds. And I think they look nice, you know, if they're falling apart. And 2, They're a magnet for fern spores. Well, you know, the spore is so fine, it blows here and there. And the rottenwood, because it holds moisture. You ever go to old growth forest, you see a log there?
Yeah.
Pull it apart, it's always moist, even in the middle of summer. You get so many hybrid that I don't even know who the parents are. Now, on that one, the Aurelia alata, sadly not available anymore at this point. But I found another thing is, if you want yours to live a long time, it needs to be pruned each year. You can't keep letting it longer and longer. As further away from the trunk the branches get, the weaker they get. And I noticed the leaves fall off earlier, it gets weak. So now I have this one, I just pruned it again. And the other one I have, we pruned them, and man, it has made such a difference. Really rejuvenated and invigorated them. And beware of the oxalis.
Beware, isn't that the native oxalis?
I know.
Yeah.
And it's a vigorous
It's a native.
It's a
Not
native.
all natives are
I know, right?
friendly.
There is a variety of it. It has beautiful pink flowers. It's prettier than that one. And it's not so vigorous.
Oh.
And it's really pretty.
So is this choked out plants?
No, because everything growing there is taller.
Okay.
But it would, if it would get going, I mean, it would conquer those other beds in no time.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a mistake. We brought it in from the woods. You know, we kind of have a motto of live and let live. And I tell the plants, you have to share space. Now, you have to share. So some of you have to go, some of you, so that you can have both, but they need to live with each other. And if they don't, then one of them has to come out. You know, we're not orderly gardeners in that way.
And tell you a trick about controlling the phobia, because it can be based, I mean, sort of.
You mean the cocos?
I mean the cocos.
Oh, yeah.
That, yeah.
Sorry.
What do you do to control it?
Well, in fall, you know, when they kind of don't look like much anymore, you cut them back half. You leave this much, so don't cut them back all the way to the ground. And then you can dig out, because you could still see the top. If you do it early enough, you can even pull, because it still sticks to the top. If you do it later, you have to dig it, because if you pull the top, it just comes off and the bulb stays. And then, you know, if you have known varieties, they're really pretty, and it's easy, like for a plant sale or so, and they're not as aggressive. The yellow creeping jenny I really like. And I use a lot. And if it creeps in the path, I don't care because you can walk on it.
No.
Sometimes with the heathers, you have to watch out a little bit. There's that sometimes it comes up in the heather, and you don't want that because it might creep over. But it doesn't seem to be very hard to control. You don't want the green one. The green one is really aggressive. That one is not easy to prune. This year Taylor did it. It takes so long. But Taylor, our helper, he lives next door. He loves pruning. I said, "Hey, Taylor, he went right to it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it only took him one day. Otherwise, you see here, this.
Yeah.
If you leave it reverts back to its normal stage and makes long.
It's a type of orchard cedar.
Yeah.
Native to the coast.
Lawsonia?
Yeah, Lawsonia.
Okay. Did you buy it like that, or did you topiary it yourself?
From bloomers.
We bought it from bloomers, and they had some. They weren't doing that quite with them, but they were. If you just let it grow and don't prune it all, it just kind of makes a floppy. They call it a ghosty tree.
That's right.
A ghost tree. Okay.
A ghosty tree.
Oh, you want a ghosty tree?
Yeah, and they're just very graceful and
Nice.
full, but it gets too big for that spot, so we started cutting it, and we noticed wherever we cut it, it made congested growth.
What kind of growth?
Congested.
Congested, okay.
You cut it, and then it made kind of this wall of, and so we thought, that's kind of cool.
But isn't that something like juvenile and older foliage?
Yeah, that's got juvenile foliage.
This is the juvenile foliage, right?
Okay.
So it would revert to floppy if you didn't prune it.
Do you prune it once a year?
Yeah, about. Oh, would prune it more often if it weren't so time consuming. It's Star of the East.
Yeah.
This is very pretty.
Very similar, but it doesn't have the dark eye.
Oh.
And it's a little taller.
Yeah. It's
Actually has a sort of a yellow eye.
And it can be in shade, and it gets tall. It comes up very late. So you can have another plant, early plant there before.
One of the tricks is to plant a papaver, orientalis.
Oh, okay.
And they're really early, and they're really ugly when they're done. And because there's just nothing there, they die back. Then you plant that in the same spot. No. And then it takes over later. And that's an Ariagonum.
That one we got from, was it little cuttings or seed?
Seed.
At Crater Lake. Crater Lake, we sat on the edge up on the cliffs and it was growing there. See, it's easy from seed. I mean, they do grow from seed.
Okay.
And it's the most beautiful silver variety.
Who put that there?
I did.
Perfect for the Chaparral Garden. What's the Latin name of that?
Tarantula.
Tarantulas rubberis.
Rubberis. We never mulched that. It wouldn't like to be mulched. It has gravel on top, it's sandy soil, it's unadulterated. It's our native soil. You get a look. You get a look. You have to hold still.
And I know it's like we've gone back in time, but this is actually a different corgi. And so I just want to thank you guys for inviting us to go over the fence and see your wonderful garden.
Sure. Corgi that wants to bite your hands.
And so we'll see you soon to see the garden at a different time of year.